Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is both amazing and difficult at the same time. The Passport Mommy, Michelle Jerson, is here to share in your journey.
It's amazing. It really is, just watching them grow and see how much change and how much they learn just without the filters around them.
Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Welcome to the show. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Thank you so much for joining me today. So this season, flu is worse at its worst than it's been in many years. There's 2 strains of flu going on. And if you're a mom to a little one, especially if they are in daycare or preschool, you know how nerve-wracking it could be every single day. You don't know what they're going to come home with. And just recently, last week, my daughter's school, they had a horrible stomach virus going around the entire school. While my daughter was lucky enough not to get that, or at least not get it yet, her nose has been a never-ending waterfall. So I'm thrilled to have with me today Christophe Morville. He is the Director of Education and Pharmacy Development at Boiron. It's a world leader in homeopathic medicines. I personally use many of their products. I'm a firm believer. In this position, he creates training programs, both online and in print, for pharmacists and retailers on homeopathic medicines used to treat common health conditions. Thank you so much for joining me today, Christophe.
Well, thank you for having me, Michelle.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about how you work with Boiron and a little bit about homeopathic medicine in general.
Well, I'm a pharmacist by training, so my role is always to keep that aspect in our business. Means really trying to help people using the medicines for self-medication as safe as possible, or training healthcare professionals how to use our medicine. So that's mainly what I do.
Okay, great. And so tell me a little bit about Boiron, because whether you're somebody who's listening to the show and you go to your local pharmacy, or if you're traveling around the world, most likely you will find these products at a place, most likely your local drugstore, where you could purchase them.
Yes, Boiron is a pharmaceutical laboratory that has been founded in 1932 in France, but is now distributing the medicines in more than 80 countries. So travelers are most likely to find Boiron medicines, usually in pharmacies. In the U.S., we can find them about everywhere, including on the internet. But in the world, they belong to the world of to pharmacies mostly, and there is a large variety of different medicines. We'll probably talk about medicines for flu, but we have also medicine for allergies, for babies, baby colic or teething, and a variety of medicines for women as well, and so on and so forth. So large choice of different homeopathic medicines.
Exactly. So I think some people, you have some people who are very firm believers in homeopathy and homeopathic medicines. Like, I firmly believe in it, and I would much rather give my children and myself something that I consider a lot more natural than a prescription, if the prescription is not necessarily needed. But tell me, for those who aren't as familiar with homeopathy, what are the benefits?
So homeopathy is a therapeutic method that has been founded or discovered about more than 200 years ago. And basically, in a nutshell, is this. You give a very, very small dose, homeopathically prepared, of a substance to counteract or to help your body counteract symptoms that would have been caused by the same substance given in high doses. So, for example, if I'm asking you to peel a lot of onions, you'll have itchy eyes, runny nose, you'll sneeze a lot until you go outside and breathe fresh air. If you have those symptoms, probably triggered by the beginning of a cold or allergy, a homeopathic preparation from the onion will relieve the symptoms. So the advantage of homeopathic medicines is that compared to conventional medicines, they have much, much, much less side effects. So they can be used at the first sign of symptoms. And usually they do the trick. If they don't do the trick, sometimes it happens, then you can go to conventional medicine. There is no problem. There is no interactions between them.
Right. And so even if you are on a conventional medicine, you could still take one of these products in conjunction with it.
Most of the time, yes. In fact, there is very small cases of interactions between homeopathic medicines and conventional medicine. So this is why people who have a chronic treatment for high blood pressure, for example, and they start a cold, they usually cannot take decongestants. So homeopathic medicine for cold, like cold calm, would relieve their symptoms, help them to overcome the cold without interfering with their condition.
So you mentioned that you should take the medicines at the first sign of a cold or the flu. Are they effective if you've already had it for a few days?
Yes, they are, but let's talk a little bit about that. When you have a condition, for example, if you have a cold or a flu, our reflex is to wait until we are sick enough to take conventional medicine, because we know that they will cause side effects. So usually we wait, and then we say, okay, the level of my symptoms justifies me taking a conventional medicine. With homeopathic medicine, this is not a good strategy, because in fact, they work better when taken early, and they usually do not trigger side effects. So if you start to have the feeling of the flu, that means scratchy throat, you know you've caught something, you know you'll be miserable in the morning, that is the time when you start taking the medicine for flu-like symptoms that we promote, that's called oscillococcinum.
Okay, great. And that is a mouthful, but it's very effective. And is that effective for both adults and children, or is that recommended just for adults?
No, in fact, the medicine is recommended for children 2 years of age and older. If you have a kid that has symptoms of flu and is younger than 2, we recommend that you seek professional advice, not because oscillo is toxic, but in fact because you want to be absolutely sure that your child has the flu and not something, and it's properly monitored. So I know physicians that will say, okay, the little kid has the flu and is 18 months, we can start oscillo, but that needs to be assessed by a healthcare professional. Otherwise, kids 2 and above can safely take oscillococcinum.
Okay, terrific. Now, I know my daughter she asks me for it every morning that she has a cold. She loves the Celestial honey. Is it called Celestial honey?
It's called Chestal.
Chestal honey. She loves that, and she asks me for it even when she doesn't have a cough. She loves cold calm, and she likes that I could just pour it onto a little spoon for her and give it to her, or I could put it directly in her mouth. And she asks me for it even when she's already had the cold for a week. Is it still effective?
Yes, that's the part of the answer I would like to address as well. If you're unfortunate to take the homeopathic medicine not at the onset, but during the established phase of a cold or flu, it will still work. However, it takes more time. Just takes more time to reverse established symptoms than just nipping the symptoms in the bud if you take the home medicine very early.
Got it. Okay. And how many times a day should you or can you take it?
So the dosage for all homeopathic medicines, the dosage is on the packaging. Usually, the rule is this. If it's very intense, if your symptoms are very intense, you take the medicine more often. And then you decrease with improvement. However, the first thing you do is you turn the package and you look at the directions, then the warnings, you read them, and you follow the directions, because that's the best way to get the best results, in fact.
Great. Okay. So we have about 2 minutes left in this segment, and I want to talk to you again in the next segment because you have so many products. Boiron has so many products that they offer for both adults and children. And so tell me, we mentioned the oscillococcinum, and then what other products can we use if we are stuck with the cold or the flu symptoms?
So you have, if you are affected by a cold, that means you can work. You're not as miserable as the flu. We have that medicine called Calcan, and there is a form for children under the form of liquid doses that you can squeeze in the baby's mouth or the child's mouth, and it's okay for children 6 months of age and older. So that's probably the best medicine for symptoms of cold. We have also Chestal, which is a medicine for the different types of cough, contains honey, and you can give it to children 2 years of age and older who have either dry cough or very have chest congestion, or they wake up at night coughing. So that's a very good medicine for cough.
Great. We're talking with Christophe Merville. He is the Director of Education and Pharmacy Development at Boiron. He is the world leader in homeopathic medicines. Where can people go to get more information on Boiron?
Well, we recommend that they go on our website, Boiron USA, BOIRON-USA.com. There is a wealth of information, and there is also a medicine finder to help you find the best medicine for your condition.
Perfect. So I want to talk with you in the next segment for a few more minutes, because I know you also have so many other medicines and creams that can help with so many different ailments and things that may be going on. So hang on the line with me. I'm Michelle Jerson. You're listening to Passport Mommy, and we're talking about homeopathic medicines and creams to help with cold and flu season. And next up, we're going to talk about creams that may help if you hurt yourself or maybe you get a burn. More coming up in a few.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
We're talking with Christophe Merville. He is the Director of Education and Pharmacy Development at Boiron. And Christophe, it is so interesting talking with you about homeopathic medicines and creams, because I'm a firm believer that, you know what, why not nip the symptoms in the bud right away? And if you can, treat it in a more natural approach. So, and you recently with Boiron just developed an app that really makes it easy for people who are new to homeopathic medicine, or maybe who are not new and just trying to figure out which medicine is right to take at a certain time.
Yes. Homeopathic treatments, the best ones are very individualized. Means we take into account a lot of individual symptoms, which makes sometimes the choice of the right medicine, the right protocol, a little bit tricky. So this is why we have developed this free app that you can download for your smartphone or your tablet, and it's called the Boiron, B-O-I-R-O-N, Boiron Medicine Finder. It's free. You can download it for even your Kindle. And in a few clicks, you get, depending on your symptoms, you get the most appropriate treatment, including the medicines that are, combinations. And so you get the choice sometimes between combinations and generics. You get coupons. We have little videos to educate on each medicine and so on and so forth. So that's valuable if you want to start homeopathy for you and your children. That's probably the best way, because you have all the warnings. When should you see a physician and so on?
Right. So we talked a lot about cold and flu season and the medications that are available to us. You also, Boiron, makes a bunch of creams. The most popular, I would say, is probably Arnica, for when you maybe fall or have a bruise. And there's also a product for burns. Tell me a little bit about how Arnica works.
So we have a line of medicine called Arnicare, and the main ingredients, as you say, is Arnica montana, which is a mountain daisy that has been used for centuries for a variety of ailments. But what it does in fact two things. It reduces pain and swelling from trauma or overexertion, and also it reduces discoloration from bruising. So, for example, you gardened a little bit too much, you have a low back pain because it has been a strenuous activity. You can use Arnicare gel or cream, rub it on your back, 3 times a day to ease the pain. Or your little kid, bump and has a big bruise or a bump on the forehead, provided the skin is not damaged, not open, you can use Arnicare to decrease the swelling and also the bruising. But I insist, do not use arnicare on open wounds. We have another medicine for that, but arnicare will sting, and it can cause some side effects if you use it on damaged skin or open wound. For the rest, it's very, very nice, especially for stiffness after intense workout or overexertion.
And you mentioned that you do have something for open wounds. What would that be?
Yes, if the skin is damaged, open wound, minor burns, then you turn to calendula, which is a line of medicine using marigold extract, and they speed up the healing of the skin or the wound. So this is the one you use in first aid when there is a minor burn, first or second degree, or you just had a wound. After cleansing the wound, you apply a thin layer of arnicare cream, or calendula cream or calendula ointment, and you cover with a loose bandage, and it really increases the speed of wound healing and makes the wound more resistant.
And I'm a big fan I've used so many of the products. Just this last week, I hate to report that I both fell down the stairs and slammed my finger in a car door. So I've been using up my entire supply of arnica, but it's been wonderful and it's been really helpful. So real quickly, for those who are traveling and might be experiencing some indigestion or other side effects of food or water where they are, or just in general at home, if you're having a sour stomach, what would you recommend?
Two things, in fact. If you have heartburns, acid reflux, we have a medicine called, it's so easy to remember, it's called Acidil. And this will help with this kind of, acid reflux or heartburn that you might have sometimes. If you are, for example, on a cruise or you're visiting another country where the little bugs are different and you unfortunately experience diarrhea, we have a new medicine called Daralia. And this is very, very useful because it will help restore your balance and stop the diarrhea without, in fact, blocking completely the digestive tract as other medicines could do, which can be dangerous. So that's a very good alternative to other medicines. Daralia, if you go on a cruise, if you go in another country, you should definitely take it with you.
Christophe Morville, you are the Director of Education and Pharmacy Development at Boiron. Where could people go for more information on all of the products you talked about today and just to learn more about homeopathic medicine?
Our website is probably the best place. It's called Boiron USA, BOIRON USA.com. You have a lot of information there about how to use homeopathy. You have training modules. You have blogs. And of course, monographs on each of our medicine, how to take them, what they are. Plus, if you have additional questions, you can call us at 1-800-BOIRON1 or email us at info@boironusa.com. We have a Boiron Information Center to help people, find their ways and answer questions about our medicines.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christophe Morville, for joining me today. Very informative. And if you heard my son in the background, he is also struggling with a little cold at 8 months old. So good to know that we can use Cold Calm and a bunch of other of the Boiron products. I'm Michelle Jerson. More coming up in a few.
Passport Mommy with Michelle Jerson. Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
I'm here with my good friend Marshall Stevenson. He is a comic dad, and he understands what it's like to try to do a radio show with a baby on your lap. Hi, Marshall.
Hi, Michelle. Have you never heard of just giving her a video while you're doing a radio show?
Not at 8 months old. Not yet.
No, you can. I know. Oh, I forgot.
So all I really have available is the two boobs on my body. And it's, it's always wonderful trying to juggle that while he's pulling at my headphone wire and I'm trying to talk into a microphone. But we do what we need to do.
I think you should tell us more about this and we not do a topic.
About how you try to time naps so perfectly to coincide with when you need to be on an important business call or do a radio show, and it just never works out that way. And then they pull out your headphones and, kick at your microphone. Is that what you want to talk about?
Sure. But we're good to go, huh?
All right, yeah. But so we are, we were going to talk today about my other child and your daughter, about how their insistence my daughter is a few months away from 3 years old, yours just turned 3, of really exerting control over the things that they do, from the simplest to the most intense things in their minds.
Yeah, there was an article in the New York Times that just jogged I just realized, how big an issue this is. It's they really want to be in charge. They have a concept at 3 years old, my daughter, of what it means to have dominion over what you do. So the topic they talked about in the article was about the kid getting dressed, and it's and basically they came to the conclusion if a kid does not want to wear a snowsuit in the snow, you lose. Kid wears what he wants, or you're going to have just fight because they want. Maybe you should give them their control. I mean, pick your battles was the point.
Well, I think what they were saying is that if your kid insists on wearing a tutu and a dress and it's snowing out, you put that on them first so they feel like they've won, and then you put their tutu in that snowsuit. So I think they're talking about trying to figure out how to give your son or daughter the control that they crave and that they're trying to exert at that age, while also keeping them healthy, because while they might want to exert all this control, they also don't know right from wrong yet.
Well, it's funny that we had different takeaways, because my takeaway is, at the end of the day, no discipline. Can't do it. Got to give in on everything. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not what I
understand.
From...
It's sometimes you have to step in, but do we give them as much as we can? If we don't like that she's wearing that shirt with those pants, it's a little dirty, isn't it? Maybe we should just let them do it, because they're dressing themselves a big step toward them being independent.
Exactly. And for something like that, I agree with. And I think that if it's a case like that, and it's not a matter of I want to wear shorts and it's 10 degrees outside, sure, let them do what they want, because when they get older, even if you dress them, they'll leave the house and then they'll put on whatever they want anyway. So I do think that that's a good idea. But I also am a firm believer in discipline. And I do think that while you need to let them feel like they're making a lot of their own decisions, that you also have to lay down the discipline so that they have that as the groundwork moving forward.
All right, so what kind of discipline and what are the consequences? This is why you have a lot of fights with her, right? Because you say, well, this is the way it's going to be, and she says no, and you say yes, and she says no, and the fight is on, right?
I try not to have fights with her. And so we're going through this a lot right now. And so we'll just start at the beginning of the day and we'll run down the routine. So in the morning, it's, no, I don't want to take my diaper off. And no, I don't want to get dressed. But yes, I want to nurse. Yes, I want to go have breakfast and eat crackers out of the box right away. So the way we address that is, okay, you can nurse for a little bit. While you're nursing, I'm going to get you undressed and I'm going to get you dressed while we're nursing. And then if she throws a tantrum that, no, I just want to nurse, and I say, well, no, then we're not nursing. The only way we're going to nurse is if you get undressed. So we kind of make some compromises there. She gets what she wants. I get what I want. And then when it comes to the crackers, right away, she runs into the kitchen. She opens the cabinet. She pulls out the crackers that she wants for breakfast. And I might give her a choice now. And I'll say, okay, pick which one you want. We will have 2 and you could dip them in your yogurt. So she feels like she's making a decision. She's getting crackers. She's only getting 2. And she has to dip them in her healthy breakfast.
All right, it sounds perfect. It sounds like everything is going smoothly and you don't have any troubles.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Because that sounds like a perfect way of doing things, like you get it done.
I try. I mean, I really try, but really I feel like every day almost is like from morning until night is one big compromise. The word no flies all over the place. And it's just, so it is nonstop. And it's just, I'm really trying to exercise patience and to figure out how to make her feel like she's making her own decisions while still exerting discipline.
Well, it's interesting because you led with the discipline, and then you talked about the compromises and stuff. I only heard when you were talking about it things that had to be done. Like she's got to get dressed, she's got to be somewhere, she's got to eat, she's got to be somewhere. But like you did give in on like she can have some crackers. So then, do we do like one of these things where we have an evening ritual where it's like bath 7 on the nose? Book 7:21, lullaby at 7:40, and bedtime at 7:41, and just like discipline it, just make sure that that's enforced. Or
yes.
The stuff that doesn't need to get done, then that's where we can really let them kind of be a little freer.
Right. So I think, yes, I think when it's stuff that doesn't need to be done, you can let them be a little freer and have a little more autonomy. I think it's just as long as you're keeping them safe. And I think the bedtime thing, you definitely have to have a routine and discipline, because I know my daughter, she will play and play and play and play and play for the rest of the night without saying, okay, it's time to go to bed.
All right. So instead of playing all night, what you do is you fight with her that it's time to go to bed and time to do this pre-bed ritual and this pre-bed ritual and this pre-bed ritual, and it's starting. And so from 6 o'clock on, you're fighting with her that she's got to do the next thing and she doesn't want to, right?
No, I'm not fighting with her. She enjoys doing it.
That's
but I
what
just
we
have
do.
to. What's that?
Well, it's like what we do. It's like, okay, it's time to have your bath. And then she's running around the house, like avoiding us. And then it's time to change your diaper. And then she's running around the house avoiding us. And then it's a lot. Then it's not just physically getting away. Then it's like one more thing and this and that and this and that. So what if we just didn't tell her she had to go to bed?
Right. Well, I think, no matter what time, what did you say, change the time that she has to go to bed? Is that what you said?
No, what if or just not tell her, because eventually she does go to bed on her own.
Yeah. No, I think you do have to have a time for bed, because I think that sets the tone for how they sleep throughout the night and the next day. I think you definitely can't just let them play forever, and they need to know that it's time to turn off their imagination and go to sleep. So even though, yes, it's always like, no, I want to do this. No. When we get to the next thing, she likes all of the bedtime routine. She likes reading stories. She likes singing songs. She's like doing all that. We just have to lead her there and make sure she doesn't veer off to do something else, and just keep it going.
Anyway, practically speaking, you don't get into a lot of discipline unless you have to, but it's a really interesting question, because these kids, and if you've never had a kid, you don't realize it, like they want control of things, and they're going to take it when it's given to them. And it's like, do we want to run it like a military, or do we kind of just want to let their imaginations go wild? Like, you have to think about this stuff, because if you just let it go, then it's hard to kind of get that genie back in the bottle. Like, that's a not
Right.
accurate metaphor, but like, it's hard to, like, if you decide to not be a disciplinarian and they're like, oh no, this kid's a mess, always tired, cranky, I'm going to start being a disciplinarian, then you're going to have like the fight of a lifetime in your hands.
Exactly. I agree. I think that you have to pick and choose, like you said, and there's certain things, yes, you let them choose and you give them options whenever you can to make them feel like they're making decisions. Like, I'll say to her, which shoes do you want to wear in the morning? And maybe I'll give her 3 shoes to choose from. And when she says, I want to wear my sandals in 10 degrees, I'll say, no, pick between your boots and your sneakers and your other boots. And she does that. So she feels like she's making some decisions while still being kept in line.
All right, what do you think about letting him wear sandals and then just going outside and being like, see?
Yeah, I mean, that could work too, as long as you bring the spare along to let them change into shortly after. You could definitely do that.
How about you don't do that? How about you don't do that? How about you just make sure there's no frostbite, so you limit exposure to a half hour of being an agonizing cold, and then you're like, so tomorrow, what do you say we wear the shoes and not the sandals?
Yeah, I don't know. Again,
I'm just saying, like, what? I don't know. I do the way you do, but who's to say? Like, maybe we shouldn't be. Maybe the control should be like. Well, that is interesting. I mean, it's just like sort of free fall of thought. But when you do see something that the consequences they're going to suffer, like you don't wear your hat and now you're really cold. It's like, okay, see. I don't have to punish you. The consequences are on you. You're uncomfortable.
Right.
Maybe we could let those go.
Maybe. I mean, I will say that we used to do that with her with, like, I think it was certain types of spicy foods, which is not a bad thing, I think, to expose her to spicy food. But I would say to her, that's really spicy. And she'd say, I want it anyway. I was like, okay. And then she ate it and she's like, so.
You can go to the library naked. It's you who's going to be embarrassed.
Yeah, I think we have to draw the line somewhere. But I agree. So how's everything going with your daughter? With the update with her going to the bathroom on her own?
All right. So it's a control thing. So when we did potty training or something relating to that, she decided that she wanted to have control over when she peed, and she didn't want anybody telling her when she should pee. So now she holds it, and it's a problem. And I don't know if I want to talk too much in detail about, like you have to pee, honey, you have to pee. Okay, I can see you holding it and all that stuff that goes along with it, but, like, she just holds her pee, which apparently other kids do, and they can still grow up to be normal.
Right, exactly. I mean, I will say I watch my daughter do the whole pee and poopy dance. Like, I know right away when she has to go. Right? So do you, honey. Yeah, so does my son. You could hear. So I know exactly when she has to go. And I say, we're going to the toilet. Now, no. With her, she doesn't want to be taken away from what she's doing. So I've had to bring toys to the toilet and say, okay, you can continue playing on the toilet. And then she goes.
Well, it sounds like the way the dog, when they're about to go, they start to spin around in circles. And
that's exactly what she looks like. She gets on all fours. She starts rocking. She hides under desks and chairs. I'm like, we're not a dog.
Oh, you really have to say that? Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
See, what we would give to have your predicament here, to be able to say to her, honey, you are not a dog, instead of... Honey, your bladder is going to get distended.
I understand. We're talking with Marshall Stevenson. He is comic and dad of a 3-year-old based in New York City. I always love talking with you, Marshall, because, look, these are just things we go through as parents to a toddler. And there's so many topics every week. I love breaking them down with you. So coming up next, we're going to continue. We're going to talk a little more together because I know we have a lot to talk about, even though we just talked last week. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. He's Marshall Stevenson. We'll be right back.
Motherhood is a journey. Joining you on your greatest adventure, here's Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy.
Here with Marshall Stevenson, and we're talking toddler topics, and you may hear my little one in the background a lot today. He's a little fussy because his sister has given him her cold that she's had for about 2 weeks, and pretty much whenever she's sick, he gets sick. But, it's par for the course, especially it's winter time, and everyone always seems to have a cold, especially in her daycare every single day. But last week, we got an email. First, it was a sign posted at daycare, and then an email saying, this is the worst stomach virus we have seen in 20 years of having this daycare. And we are urging you parents to keep your kids at home if at least 48 hours after their symptoms have gone away. And so after seeing this, I was debating, do I just keep my daughter home? Because is that better than sending her to possibly be infected with this? So, Marshall, I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is one of these things where I generally feel that everything that I read is like, don't try to keep them from germs. So that one's hard to say because, okay, so before she was going to school, I would take care of her last year, and we would go to a children's museum, and it was like as soon as flu season started, it was like, nah, why don't we not go to the children's museum? It was like, 4,000 kids playing with the same telephone, right? You know, like what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I don't know. So that one is a tough one, except that, again, everything is in the air, and if we get enough sleep and eat right and stuff, we're not really going to, pick it up, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
Wow.
So I was usually in your boat where I felt like she needs to be exposed to germs. However, in this instance, I did choose to keep her home because I asked her teachers just how bad it was. And they said it's spreading really quickly. It's not contained. And I thought, you know what? I can't chance that she brings it home. And it's bad enough if she's sick and throwing up all over everything. But then if my little one gets it. And so I chose to keep her home.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, she escaped it last week. But then I sent her back yesterday. And they say that germs for stomach viruses, you could still be contagious up to 2 weeks after your last symptoms. So it's like I sent her back just like hoping and praying that the million times she puts her thumb in the mouth during the day does not give her a stomach virus. But it's so hard to figure out what the best thing to do is.
Well, and you have a choice. I mean, some parents don't have the choice to keep them home, for weeks at a time or whatever. I mean, one of the things you could do is just send her and not worry about it. I mean, it's just like if you get a stomach virus, then you deal with it as you get it. I mean, you got to go through the earth. I mean, it's sure as hell a way not to get a cold is to not leave the house in the winter. But, I mean, there's some that now. At the same time, if they say it's like, this is the worst since the Black Plague.
Right.
And like we have wheelbarrows coming by the daycare every day to take the bodies away, and just like, then you're like, well, maybe we can stay home. I got some work to do, a little bit more cartoons today won't hurt her if it's one day. Yeah, I guess you did the right thing if it's the worst in 20 years.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope she just doesn't get it this week because that's my thing. It's like, yes, I work from home, but I still have work. So then I feel like, okay, great. So here's another day that I can't work. But again, I do have the flexibility if needed. So it's like, sometimes you have to put your kids' needs above yours, I guess, with those types of things.
Listen, if you can do a radio show and take care of the kid that's on your lap right now, I think you can pretty much do anything, right?
Thank you. It's not ideal, but you have to do what you have to do sometimes.
It's a good thing you're not doing like a stock picking show, that you're doing a show about kids.
Right, exactly. I don't think I can get away with this anywhere else. But I think it's also time to invest in that babysitter while I do the radio show because, naps are not as predictable as they used to be.
Well, as long as they're going to be home for a while because of the flu season, you have to keep them home for the next 4 months.
Oh, it's crazy. We just had somebody on the show before that was talking how bad the flu is this year. But that's the thing. It's like you have to figure out how are you going to live your life? You can't keep your kids in a bubble. And it is what it is. And you just hope for the best. Marshall Stevenson, thank you so much again for joining me today. He's a New York City comic and dad to a 3-year-old. Always fun chatting with you. And I'm sure we'll talk again really soon.
Thanks, Michelle.
Absolutely. I'm Michelle Jerson, the Passport Mommy. Don't forget, you can check out the podcast for this episode and any episodes that you may want to listen to in past weeks. And I would love if you left a review. That would be terrific. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.